Okay, fun for you. Yeah. It's quite informal. So.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a chat. I think can be interactive if you wish. So, I mean, this is something I've prepared for, like a leadership course that I was on within EDF, which is where I work, a couple of years ago. So there's a bit of a mixture of, it was more of a self-reference at the time, because at the beginning of this course, you kind of have to assess yourself, where you come from, and your strengths and weaknesses before you then start learning. So I'll talk through it, but pick out probably some of it's kind of what you've learned along the way through all of your stages of life and career. So there's some relevant transferable skills now, I think. Then I'd also would talk about, because I'd say, so my job is senior management data and reporting at EDF for large businesses. So I talk about how data is used in EDF for a little while. I think that's probably the crossover that I found, that sort of analytical study, the statistical training and use of data. Because it's quite rare to have people who are properly trained in those kind of things in business. So there's quite a lot of talk about wanting to be data driven. Is kind of phrase that we use a lot. Yeah, the actual formal training is quite rare. I think you'll see a lot in the kind of, at least the kind of business that I've been like, people trying to do this or move towards it or present things in a charts. And everyone does talk about numbers to make those sort of decisions, but I think behind it, the actual levels of training is vary a little bit. For one reason or another. I've got some job descriptions that I just took that are either open now or very recent, just to see the kind of things that are being asked for. Again, sort of focusing on analytical roles. And I've made a note of some interview questions that I've had. Quite a lot of interviews over the years, successful and unsuccessful. But trying to keep a note of all of the questions that I've been asked. So just summarize those. I think looking back on it, there's not a massive range of questions, but that's quite helpful. But there's a few core things that people are obviously very interested in, but to be either analytical or management roles. So not too much to remember. And one of them being data science. I don't know if that's a term that is particularly well known outside of.
Yeah, I've got.
Yeah,
I've got a current bits this year. Or current. Well, they're just writing up on them. Sorry, they've just written up. They've just filed it, and they're looking things, and they were asking for introductions to people who are doing data science. She brought me the data, but I think they were like, I want to health data science. So
okay.
Yeah, but it is a kind of.
It's a big sort of hot topic. I think outside of academia, people definitely know that they want to move it, so that there always has been an undercurrent that we should make use of all the data that we've got. It's never collected in a very conscious way in business. It reminds me of when my PhD was in biological sciences, but it was quite statistical. But it was more evolution and ecology. So quite often you got the data you were given. Evolution just happened. It's not like you could easily design evolution experiments. It's a little bit like maybe even sociology, or just more like observation, where you've got the data. It might be a bit messy. It's not exactly how you would have designed it, and you want to draw inferences and make. I mean, a business definitely want to make quick decisions. What should we do next based on the data? So you need to be a bit rigorous. And then data science kind of brings in, so it's all of that collecting and cleansing and analysing the data, but then also the new the technologies that are really bubbling at the moment, like generative AI, machine learning, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like a specialist area, but we are at EDF we want to do it. We don't really know anything about it, and we're sort of looking at the experts to know about it. A lot of people, I think, jumping on that. So when I've been hiring recently, there's a lot of people who've done MSCs in analytics, and there's a lot of appetite, and I think quite a good job opportunities for data scientists, which really, with the sort of statistical training that you get in science, it's quite well prepared for. I think I don't think it takes that long to go from there to just picking up the new tools and the new software. So talk a little bit about that. I picked out some general bits of careers advice that I picked up over the years, so summarised. But I'm interested, especially since it's a small group, what are you actually hoping to hear about? Well, any of that sound interesting or anything completely different to that? What are you looking on?
I guess personally, like, I would rather, I'm not sure where I want to go after the PhD, so I'm
Okay.
just trying to find out as much as I can
Yeah,
about
good.
what people have done, how they've gone about
Yeah, yeah.
it, and sort of how I can prepare myself for that now, what I can do now to help them in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the moment, it's sort of information gathering for me.
Perfect, yeah, so if I mean, I'll give maybe the bit about my story, and that's obviously
One side of it, yeah, but it's still useful to know.
Yeah, okay. How about yourself? What are you doing at the moment? Your PhD?
I'm visiting student here and I'm in the trade in engineering. But my project is kind of related to biology and like I was kind of my project was kind of related to bioinformatics.
Okay.
I got a part-time job before as data analyst.
Yeah.
So like this is my final year, so there is 2 years for me. I was just wondering if I pursue postdoc or get some data job here. I'm not sure for now. So
That's good. So again, if I just a bit of food for thought, one among many things that we hear about healthy decisions. Hi there. We just started. I gave a little rambling overview about what I was going to talk about. We're taking up most of it, but then also wanted to hear what's your kind of position and what you're interested in thinking about today.
Yeah, for me, moments I'm the research fellow in the School of Physics and Maths. So yeah, that's my PhD.
Yeah.
Going to eight years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we have been here for one postdoc. Okay, this one is a penalty position. So what's I start to think of what next? I guess
Again, just like hearing
Yeah.
other things.
this is not it. So
Yeah.
and then so this there is
Yeah.
things.
Different, but sort of similar themes. So I was going to start by I will not go through this in detail. This is my entire life from birth till I was doing this leadership course I mentioned a couple of years ago. But so skip the entire first I guess up to university, where I studied zoology at Sheffield. And that's where I guess got into the a little bit of statistical training. But like I said, I think it's quite a rare thing. You will see a lot of data analysis if you go into a sort of business environment. And the part of EDF I work in is for customers, which just looks a lot of relates to business customers, not professional customers. It does everything from kind of call centers to it's quite a data heavy industry with all meter-reads flying and out, you can imagine, I guess. And that industrial level as well, even just calculating the invoices, the big automated data intensive process. We've got about 4 million customers. So obviously there's not a lot of manual intervention in that process where the data comes in to tell us, like if it's smart meters, for instance, or that half-hourly data is coming in and getting processed and sent out. But yeah, like I said before, if people are making plans and decisions from the level of what the one needs to do today to where's the company going next year, they all have to be based on data. There's a big desire from senior management. There's not a huge amount of. If you're coming from a science background like I did, you kind of look at some of the analysis or just yeah, I'm not sure that would have passed muster in a scientific environment. Some of it doesn't have to. I guess you don't want to overcomplicate things when you're just trying to make quick decisions. But then if you're taking the decision to affect the future of the company the next year, you want to be based on some solid foundations. I think there's some good opportunities there. It's valuable skills if it sounds like you've all got that skills that you're there. So that's a valuable resource. Critical thinking quite closely related really to analysis. It's just the fact that you'll have probably spent years gathering huge amounts of information and sorting through it. making a judgment and taking decisions on the basis of that. Again, that's something that I've had feedback about. It's probably not as rare as a formal statistical analysis. You know, there's a lot of clever people out there in business who are particularly good at just making quick decisions. It's much more of a practical area to work in rather than just, you know, poring over the data for a long period of time. But again, it is a very valued thing for you to highlight and put onto your CV thinking about doing that. Presentation as well, I definitely would pick out, again, you probably don't think much about doing this sort of little presentation, or even if you're visiting a conference and talking to a crowd of people, but that is not something that 99% of people applying for these kind of jobs would have done before. That's quite impressive. I think it wasn't a massive standout kind of PhD student, but I've gone to international conferences and given a little talk. That's another valuable thing not to underestimate, I think. So that was zoology, Shako. PhD, so then again, working independently, I mean, you're driving your own projects, you're making a lot of your own decisions, doing all that analysis. That's again, just a valuable skill in any environment, isn't it? I think if you're self-managing, that's the sort of thing a boss would be looking for. It makes it like the whole lot easier. So it's just picking out those examples and demonstrating how you can do that to them. Then I guess there's more of a story thing. So then I moved on to do a postdoc in the same place at Imperial College. I just didn't really get on with it. I think that was a mixture of myself and the project and my boss. I probably would do a better job of it now if I went back and did it. It was a bit of a monotonous kind of project for me. But PhD I loved and had a lot of fun. I was quite free to choose the ideas I wanted to do. I got a couple of papers out of that. But the postdoc was much more, this is what you have to do. And kind of every day was a little bit the same. So that kind of pushed me to maybe look around and have a bit of a read. There was other life issues going on, but not issues, but just decisions and situations. So I was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, and we were planning, she was in the academic world as well. And our thinking was that it's not that easy to find two academic posts in the same place at the same time, especially when you're on temporary contracts. So we just thought we'll just go somewhere where we want to be. First person to find a job, and then the other person to go on. So I kind of just, again, took the plan. We moved down to Devon, which is somewhere we want to go to. So yeah, not massively career focused at that time. It turned out to be a bit harder than I expected. There's probably a bit of a dip on the progress chart there. So I've actually not kind of I'm not kind of got to the position where I am now very quickly. I think different people, different personalities will do that at different speeds. And I'm kind of happy doing that. I'm a bit of a steady build. I didn't jump quickly, not massively brilliant sales. That's a good relative with all the skill there. Kind of got to have, you've got to push yourself out there, push yourself forward. Is it equally important as all the other skills? And there's a lot of people who are good at doing that out there, who are going to be giving against the community, so you just have to find the bullet and go for it.
Yeah. I don't think academia teaches people to be confident in themselves, particularly. It's not a natural position. A lot of the time we talk when we write in papers and things like that, or writing things, we're always kind of equivocal about any result, and so I think it bleeds into our psyche a little bit, and we're kind of not. And actually, what business are looking for is quite often people who are with a defined kind of, okay,
yeah,
this is the position we're going to go for. This is what we're looking to do. This is how we're going to have it. And so yeah, so we can be so we can come across as a little bit like unsure, I think, in that environment. So it's kind of worth just parking that, I think, and sort of saying if you have got confidence in your ability or confidence in your opinion, you should just go with it.
It's definitely true. You sort of thought that down is a good thing to in science. If you're proved wrong, that's fine. To say you don't know, it's fine. It doesn't always play out as well outside of science, unfortunately. But yeah, I think you just got to think. If I take the interview as another example, like everybody else is going to be sitting there saying, I'm the best of this, the best of that, and these are all my achievements. And if you're going there saying, yeah, it's okay, I did okay at this, I'm a bit doubtful about it, but it's just not going to get around there. So, like I say, I guess swallow that part of your personality just with the interview, and you can probably get back to being yourself later on when you're actually in the role. doing what you think you should be doing. I went through a few analytical jobs down in Devon, which were fine. Again, I mean, picking up on the self-promotion thing and things that we were just talking about, I joined EDF in 2007. As in an analytical role, there's a lot of ways that they use data, whether it is for what operational reporting, so you say, if we were just like feeding the teams about what work do I need to do today, there might be sort of 100,000 accounts that they need to work through, and they want to know what order they're done in, and there's just, yeah, I mean, huge amount of data flowing around. People nowadays would want to know how to work efficiently and what problems we need to address today. I tried to make a note of some of it. We have regulatory reporting that has to go out to people like Ofgem. I said operational reporting already. Management information, performance reporting, just to track how the company's doing from day to day or week to week, all around sort of KPIs and metrics, that you've heard about. Financial reporting is a big part of what I do at the moment, just like a monthly cycle, I suppose. So it's almost in sort of frequency or strategic, again, where you're just maybe doing a yearly or a 5-year and you've been planning cycle, but you know what's happening out in the market, what is actually, how are we doing, what are our strengths and weaknesses, and where should we be competing in the next year or two. And then getting into the more kind of recent stuff around when we can get a little bit cleverer with our analytics about predicting the future, which customers are not going to pay their next bill, who's likely to maybe raise a complaint. And then AI, we start to look at the bit of machine learning around the analytics, just as like I said, for example, debt models quite a recent thing that's been developed. Just to let the algorithm against develop itself and try and come up with those predictions about where we need to put our attention before it actually becomes a problem. But also on the generative side, so just like, for example, we're looking at the tools that can write SQL code for us. So yes, we have like I say, we've got a lot of data at the moment. We keep in a data lake, and there's teams of analysts who know how to get the data out of the data lake. It's a bit of it's not like anyone can just extract that data, and that's part of the problem. It takes a bit of time. You have to put your request into the analyst. The analyst might have to write some SQL code or at least to understand the oddities of the data. With AI, the idea was that anybody could write a plain English question, and this tool can then produce some SQL code to query the database. So it does work in as much as I've seen it trained on a simple data warehouse and generating SQL code, which answers the question, the sort of simple question. So I guess how many customers we got in this particular region. I don't think it's right at the point where it's going to give an accurate answer to a complicated question, but definitely if I have a team of analysts who have to write a SQL query that's like hundreds of lines long, it will do that, and then they can probably read through it and think that's I need to tweak that or it will debug code for you as well. But I think that seems to be the way with generative AI generally. So like we're also looking into whether it can respond to customer emails. I don't think we'd unleash it on the general public without having an expert in between, but it will save a lot of time by writing a draft of an email, and then your kind of expert customer either can read through it to is it fit to be sent out for the efficiency thing. I think we got a couple of more high level messages. I would say, like if I looked at this at a high level when I was writing this a little while ago, I was kind of interested to see that the amount of points I could think of around learning were just growing as I went through. I think I was taking it from the point of view of how has it affected my current role, or what impact has it had on me. So maybe it's a recency thing, but I think there's also something about changing roles and getting outside your comfort zone and just trying new things. I definitely would advise that. I think when I probably had a tendency to stick with what I thought I was well qualified for, and maybe not change too much outside my comfort zone. That's probably another underestimation thing you shouldn't underestimate. If you're reading a job description, you know, like that's a bit of a cliche, you don't really have to tick off every single thing. You're probably going to be bored if you do that. You should probably be looking at things that maybe it's just you're going to be learning in that role. And in the roles I've had, I probably have had around about a year's kind of learning curve maybe before things start to just plateau off. Maybe there may be like an annual cycle of events or something, and by the time you get to a year and a half, you've been through all of that. Okay, you're not a seasoned expert, but you've seen it, and then you'll obviously start to kind of plateau a little bit. So if you jump to another role at this point, you're starting on another learning curve. Rather than waiting all the way over here. So I guess my point is, if you want to be on a steep learning curve all the time, if you want to keep progressing, it's good to keep changing, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. I certainly learned a lot for doing that.
I think if you don't do it in your career, you'll end up doing like what I do, which is start projects which are unrelated to work, just to keep yourself invested. That's it, you know. And I think, you know, what we're talking about when you talk about like analytical skills and stuff like that, actually, I'm going to reflect on it now. At the time when we were doing our PhDs, we were into sports betting and things like that. And we were kind of putting the theoretical sort of processes of analysis into, well, how could I make some money doing this? Or you know, what could we do doing that? So you're already kind of doing, you know, if you don't do it through jobs, you'll do it anyway, so you may as well be making the most of building your skill set by transporting it into something else where you get recognition for it. I think you can easily get, you know, I do this sort of stuff all the time. I write a blog about research, and rather than write a book about research, which is probably much more productive in terms of a career and things like that. So I think if you kind of if you pinpoint your skills and think, actually, what can I do where I'm going to get recognized for this, then you know, it's helpful.
And then changing as well as learning, you just find out what you enjoy, what you're good at. Unless you're already in it, which might be the case, but you won't know until you try something, and some of them are going to be wrong, and you might think to switch. And like I say, I'm a bit slow to jump from one thing to the other. But this ops manager role, I learned a lot. It was more so a very day-to-day team of people who were talking to customers. It was kind of at the start, it was supposed to be the planning and the data stuff, just more into this half and half role. But that's probably the job where I learned the most, just because it was totally different. But I got to a point where I thought, I'm working really hard, I'm doing a fine job, but now they're saying, wow, that's amazing what you're doing, because I think it just wasn't quite me. So then jumped to another role. And again, that was probably my shortest, so about 18 months before I came back into what I'm doing now, which I think is probably back in a role that plays to my strengths more. So it's much more data focused, and you just stand out more. You know, your natural enthusiasm comes out. Your advantages over other people because you're in your niche comes out as well, but without doing all of the other stuff. I think I found that out. And it helps as well, just because there's not that many people in a data or business support role that have that operational experience as well. It's just another stream to their bones. So it's a good experience.
There are lots of things in there that you'll get from like supervisor experiences, working with people on lab, empathy, managing conflict, things like that. You know, they're not always big deals, but there's undercurrents within any research group. And then I think they're complex relationships, more complex than a lot of working relationships where the hierarchy is much more structured. And therefore you get kind of like, you know that you're not going to get like the passive aggressive as much, because it's kind of, I think those are working companies tend to be a little bit more like HR managed than academic environments. My experience of it anyway.
They're probably vary.
Yeah. You got any questions?
Yeah.
So what is the role now? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I manage team who, we just got the data and reporting team within the part of EDF that looks after large businesses. So half the team do quite detailed reporting out of the data lake. They're kind of coders, analysts and senior analysts who talk, the business might just come to them. Either with like an urgent question, I need to do this bit of an ad hoc analysis, or my customer wants to see this data, or they run regular kind of regulatory experts as well, but they're sort of data / business experts. And then the other half of the team is a bit more financially focused. So every month they have to talk to their business partners and update a forecast into our finance department to say how we think things are going. It's quite a big corporate environment, and we have a 5-year sort of plan that gets updated every year. And there's a big kind of oversight from finance to see how you want to track, how you want to track, if you want to track, why you want to track, what are you doing about it. So that bit is a real mixture of sort of art and science, a bit like I think accounting as well. I'm not an accountant, but there's what the numbers tell you, and there's what we then share. Because I guess it's much more palatable if we say we're a bit conservative about the forecast, and then later on you say actually we've done a bit better than we thought, that's okay. If you have big swings, are totally a no as well. If you just don't know what you're doing, but also big drops, probably worse. But I find that's a bit I enjoy. Compared to my postdoc, there's just a lot more involved with lots of different people doing different things. They rely on you. They come to the whole team as experts. They really value the input that we can give them. And I quite like that. It's quite, can be a bit hectic, but again, it's like the opposite when I was just sat editing DNA sequences day after day. A mixture, every now and then I just go back to a little spreadsheet for a bit of relaxation. I think it's tended to go more towards the people side as we move along to the right as well. All this stuff is very important, but then maybe it's a bit managerial. I'm not sure that. You basically got two routes if you want to progress in this kind of field. You can either become more and more technical, and a lot of people don't want the hassle of managing, or you can move on the managerial kind of chain. And it's a classic thing where if you're a good analyst, you get promoted into a manager, and nothing to do with analysis whatsoever.
So it's like the same academic environment, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're a researcher, and then you end up just managing all postdocs. Yeah. PhD students, and you don't necessarily be very good at that job. It's very official.
Definitely, again, I think it's good to experiment. People who have worked for me have gone to be managers with them. Some of them are fine, and some of them are just not like it and go back to. If you have that kind of analytical mindset, sometimes you just like to have control over what you're doing. You're doing things the right way, and it's going to mess it up. But I wouldn't go back to what I've done before. I enjoy what I've done.
Just I think that's the green, the Zen.
Yeah, that was more of a personal thing that I used it for originally. So I think that did teach me a lot, but that was just a long work.
So then, so one thing is like, if you reflect back, maybe what could have been, maybe have done differently, especially to avoid that gap into 2004.
I mean, I wasn't particularly career focused back then anyway. I think I probably fell into the trap of just thinking, if I'm just good at what I do, then I'll just progress anyway. I can do this analysis. I can just sit quietly and turn up to an interview. It was just completely wrong. Like interview technique is a whole separate thing. Self-promotion is something I hated, but kind of get used to doing. I think I'd just that's the bit I would focus on. Like I made a note, just to remember, like LinkedIn. It's only a minor thing really, but I got a little bit more into that and at least just tidied up my own profile. I don't know if it's a thing and that's a thing particularly. But the LinkedIn itself will give you tips on how to upgrade your profile, just putting a nice picture on there and bringing all your skills up to date. And then when I applied for the current job I'm in, my director, I could see that he was looking at my LinkedIn profile. So it might not have made or broken the hiring, but he looked at it and I was glad that I'd updated it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just put yourself out there. It takes more chances, yeah, that comes with all the non-core skills really.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's something or not, you have to have a trajectory won't be too much affected by LinkedIn, but it'll certainly not be detracted from it. It'll be positive. But outside of that, you know, I get a job offer off LinkedIn every, you know, somebody, why didn't you apply for this? And if I think about it, I could easily kind of make my profile a little bit more, not necessarily broader, but really focus on the things focus on the skills that I wanted, an area I wanted to move into, so that I was offered the roles that I would be like, okay, yeah, that's how they're going to get me the load more money, or that's going to get me, you know, the most job satisfaction, whatever.
What I've done recently, I'm not really looking to move roles, but I'll get the job sort of more like a highlight than necessarily an offer. And if you click on it, it'll tell you 3 out of 10 skills match. So if I'm interested, I will look at the skills and just change my skills so that it matches. It just makes sense that if you're interested in getting those offers, just without changing what you've actually done, you're just highlighting the relevant things that people are looking for. But I think you're all, you know, attending stuff like this is exactly what you need to do. I think just getting out there, talking to people. I probably, going back to the States, probably just spend 100% of the time just doing the job as well. If you just don't see time wasted as half an hour just putting a conversation with somebody, go and make a relationship that might just pay off down the line.
Oh.
You never know what, you know, opportunities will happen. That person might end up firing in a year's time. You would have put in the groundwork.
I couldn't agree more with that. It's, you know, they said you got on talking this morning. I was talking about the guy who presented at the conference, and I spoke to him after the conference, and now we're talking about doing a paper together. And we kind of, you know, and if I just done what maybe I would have done in, you know, for the same period, like to like early 2000s, I probably just went like, oh, that was interesting, and then just sloped off. And now I'm a little bit more like, okay, if I want to speak to somebody, I've got nothing to lose. That I feel like I've got nothing to lose in my stage of my career, so I'll just speak to it. But actually, if I'd had that attitude much earlier, I would regrets much faster. Yeah.
Well over time. The only other thing I was going to mention is like so EDF, but I assume in a lot of other places they have grad schemes that you are just checking up before there's no particular time or age. And they seem really good to me. So we have a general grad scheme where there's probably a bit of competition, you get assessed over a couple of days. But I've seen repeatedly people coming into those. They can enter a department and they'll have 6 months kind of rotational placements, which nobody else would really get that easily. To have experience auditing the company puts them at a massive advantage, and then a lot of them have ended up in quite senior positions quite quickly. They're just kind of bright, confident people who have that broad experience, which is quite rare. And then there's a specific data and tech grad scheme as well, which is great for the low there because we're like more people in. I might just really shed a data science advert. So the area of business I'm in is more about the sort of pragmatic kind of making decisions, but there's areas like obviously things like volume forecasting and trading, where we're buying and selling energy depending on predictive models and weather and financial models and all sorts. So this is quite a big, I mean, just everywhere. You see a lot of job adverts for data scientists, I think, quite well paid as well. I think it's one of those roles where you can be paid more than the boss if you're a good data scientist. There's a lot of words in here that I don't understand. But it's easy if you just search on, this is from LinkedIn, but there's an EDF role that I've seen in a different department. So but again, it's really sort of the old familiar stuff. So okay, if we skip over the technical stuff, you've got your research and innovation, which you will all have in spades, analytical skills again, teamwork and communication, which we've just been talking about. And then the technical stuff like Python's very widespread, R is very widespread. There's a load of AI stuff in here. I don't know if they take that long to upskill. I've definitely seen other people in EDF, like there's one particular really common lady who's I see all over the place giving talks and just sort of being a real pioneer. And she was in marketing, that's quite a common route, I think, because there's a bit of statistics going on in marketing. I think did a 6-month reasonably intensive course, and now is sort of lead data scientist. So yeah, there's a lot of courses out there. Google doing a lot of different courses in analytics. Probably just fine tuning what you've probably already got on statistics and how to apply that. Yeah. Decision making of it. Visualization is a bit different as well. Quite different. I think it's very stripped back in academic papers. It's a real no-no, isn't it? To just go, well, used to be many years ago, and I was to go the other kind of black and white. There's a line and this a number. Presentation with skills of this goes along with the physics. It's not anything garish, but people believe numbers more.
Yeah, let's see that.
Chat.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Got a few minutes, if anybody wants any individual time or whatever. Otherwise, it's like a bit of a late again.